I'd like to welcome everybody here to the 12th Annual Chick-fil-a Florence Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony. This is an exciting time for all involved in getting to this night and for the tremendous Florence athletes, past, present, and future, that will benefit from this appreciation. We are extremely proud of Florence's athletic heritage and all of her hometown heroes who have entertained and inspired us over our long, illustrious history of sport. Tonight, we are fortunate to have the opportunity to introduce you to 6 of those outstanding individuals who have earned the distinction of inductee into the class of 2018. I am Melissa Gerald, president of the organization, and I'd like to introduce you to the dedicated Hall of Fame Board of Directors who have volunteered numerous hours over the past year in order to get to tonight's ceremony. Please stand as I call your name. Vice President Robbie Smith. Secretary Missy Burgess Planner. She's still at the table out there. Treasurer Rocky Retrovic. Mike Cook. Danny Ellerby. David Hanna. Gerald Holly. Jeff Jeffers. Jacqueline Melton. Bobby Montrose, and Mark Wade. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And I'd also like to recognize our board attorney, David Johnson. I'm not sure he's here yet, but we do have an attorney. Thank you for your service this year. It's been a pleasure working with you. We also have some special guests tonight with us. If anybody from the Florence School District 1, Florence City Council, and the Florence County Council, if you'll please stand. Okay. Thank you for being here. And also from the Florence Center Board, which is actually the commission over this building. It's now called the Florence Center. If you didn't realize, the sign has changed. It's not the Civic Center anymore, but it's the Florence Center. We have Carl McFadden, if you'll stand. Thank you to all of these individuals for being here and supporting our efforts from the beginning. And of course, none of this would be possible without our sponsors. If you'll please stand and be recognized for your loyal support. Our title sponsor, Chick-fil-a, who has been with us since our inception 12 years ago. And tonight from Chick-fil-a, we have Mark Drummond, Blake Pate, and Sarah Black. Our All-American sponsors, we have Lawrence Timmons, and representing Lawrence tonight is his mother, Audrey Timmons. Other All-American sponsors, we have Little Caesars, Groucho Deli, the Havocost family. Rick Havocost is with us tonight. Is Rick Sears? I know I saw him earlier. Thanks, Rick. M&M Printing and Graphics, A1 Medical, and McLeod Health. Our all-conference sponsors, Cale Yarborough Honda, Pepsi, and the Florence County Gamecock Club. And our all-city sponsors, Event Photos and the Florence Red Wolves. Thanks to each of you for your loyal support of the Hall of Fame. So on behalf of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you to the 2018 induction ceremony. Our MC tonight is no stranger to the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame banquet. We welcome Bob Wilson back for his 3rd year as our MC. Bob is the athletic director at South Florence High School, being named to that position in July of 2013. Prior to his position at South Florence, Bob spent 29 years coaching basketball in the Florence area from 1980 to 2009, coaching at Francis Marion, West Florence, and Wilson. At Wilson, he guided the Tigers to a 76-31 mark and the 2007 Class 3A state championship, the first in school history. A Kentucky native, Wilson was a standout at Francis Marion University from 1978 to 1980. He co-captained the 79-80 Patriot squad and helped that team to a 24-7 mark by averaging 13.7 points per game and sinking 100 of 112 free throws. Wilson ended his career owning the then Patriot men's record for free throw accuracy, both single season at 89.3% and career 86.4%. Following his playing career, he was later named to the FMU All-Decade Team for the 1970s and was selected to the Patriots Hall of Fame in 2011. He later returned to his alma mater as an assistant coach on the staff of Lewis Hill. During his 8 seasons on the Patriot bench, Francis Marion posted 143 and 100 mark, captured the 1991 District 6 title, and made the program's only appearance in the NAIA National Tournament in 1991. Please help me welcome Bob Wilson.
Thank you, Melissa. Again, it's my honor and privilege to be the Master of Ceremonies for tonight's induction of the class of 2018 in the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame. The 6 members that we're inducting this evening, through their contributions and athletic achievements, help tell the story of Florence, South Carolina, our home. I'm a firm believer that athletics play a vital role in the life of a community, and these 6 new inductees, again, help share the story of Florence, South Carolina with others. At this point, we would like to recognize the past inductees in attendance this evening. From the class of 2008, Sterling Adams. Stand if you would, please. Thank you. From the class of 2011, Rick Havacost. From the class of 2011, Curtis Hudson. And from the class of 2011, David Hanna. If there are any other inductees that are present, would you please stand as well? Again, for our past inductees, we appreciate your contributions to this Athletic Hall of Fame, and again, to be representative of the Florence community through your contributions and achievements. At this time, Board Vice President Robbie Smith has some special recognitions.
Thank you, Bob. We have 3 recognitions this evening. First is our state championship team from the area in the past year, and that is the Florence Post 1 American Legion baseball team. Post 1 won their 2nd consecutive state title, their 4th title in the last 6 years. They're the first team in South Carolina history to advance to 6 straight state title games. They finished the season with a 40-4 overall record and a perfect 10-0 mark in the league. They currently have a 43-game home winning streak at Legion Field and a 19-game conference winning streak heading into the 2018 season. 18 of their 20 players are either on college rosters or have signed to play college baseball. Post 1 is represented tonight by Derek Urquhart. We have 2 citations tonight. The first is the morning news, and I'm going to read to you what the plaque says. The Florence Athletic Hall of Fame recognizes the morning news for their contributions and coverage of athletics in our community, and the numerous awards presented to their staff from the South Carolina Press Association for their steadfast and professional coverage of sports in Florence, both on a departmental and individual level. The morning news is represented tonight by Scott Chansey and Kyle Gibbs. If y'all would please come up to the front of the stage, please. Thank you again for the morning news. The second citation is to the News Journal. I'm going to read the plaque. The Florence Athletic Hall of Fame recognizes the News Journal for their contributions to athletics in our community by being a reliable source of information and accomplishments of local sports activities in print throughout the Florence community. The News Journal should be represented by Brenda Harrison. Is Brenda here tonight? Okay, well, let's give the News Journal a round of applause also, please.
Thank you, Robbie. Now for the introduction of our guest speaker this evening, Mark Kingston. On June 30th, 2017, Mark Kingston became the 30th head baseball coach at the University of South Carolina. A Virginia native, Mark led the Potomac High School of Dumfries, Virginia to the 1988 Virginia State Championship. In 1988, Mark was drafted by the New York Yankees, but chose to attend the University of North Carolina, where he was part of a Tar Heels team that advanced to the 1989 World Series. While at UNC, Mark received the Trip-Born Most Dedicated Player Award and was named team captain his senior year. Following his collegiate career, Mark was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers and played professionally for 5 seasons with the Milwaukee and Chicago Cubs organizations before entering coaching. Mark served as head coach at both Illinois State and the University of South Florida before being named head coach of the Gamecocks in June. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker this evening, head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecock baseball program, Mark Kingston.
Thank you. Before I start, if you could please show me your hands if you're Gamecocks fans, just so I know my audience. All right, please raise your hand if you're Tiger fans. Okay, I like that ratio. Okay, good. Okay, obviously tonight is a Hall of Fame banquet, and I'd like to congratulate the inductees tonight. Tonight is your night, so I won't get too long-winded up here tonight because it's your night. Just want to talk and spend a few minutes here just kind of talking about a few key stories from my journey. To me, sports has been my whole life. Third grade teacher, I remember it clear as day, my third grade teacher telling my parents that I was too obsessed with sports. Even at an early age, he needs to have other interests. Every book report he does, everything we do, it's always he wants to do sports. Whether it was stickers on my desk at school, it had to be sports. It was always sports. And my third grade teacher said that at some point this kid's going to have some other interests. And I never had other interests. Sports has been something that has been responsible for so much of my life, so much of the success in my life. I think about the education I was able to receive. It's because I got a scholarship with sports. I think of all the friends I have in my life. 99% of them are because of sports. The lessons I've learned, the work ethic, the discipline, the ability to work as a team. Sports has been so instrumental in my life, and I think it's been instrumental probably in most of the people in this room, because we're here at a Hall of Fame banquet and to celebrate the accomplishments of people that did great things when they were athletes. So I think it's really important to say that sports has a small place in our society, but I also don't think you can underestimate how important sports can be for kids in terms of keeping them out of trouble or teaching them the attributes they're going to need as they start to grow up, as they move out of the house. Sports to me has been everything, and I think a lot of kids out there, it's the same thing. So if you're involved in sports and if you're involved in youth sports, understand how important it can be to the future for a lot of kids out there. A couple things I learned along the way. There's two main things I would say as I look back. I was trying to think about, okay, what kind of message would I want to give at an event like tonight? He talked a little bit about my resume, played high school in Virginia, went to college north of here. I won't repeat that school. I know how that goes down in this state. Played 5 years of professional baseball. and have coached at some really great schools before coming to what I consider my dream job now. And so when you look at somebody that is the head baseball coach at the University of South Carolina, it's a dream job. I think most people would assume probably was an easy road to get there. And I can assure you it has not been an easy road. I look back at three things in my baseball career, and we talk about what are the lessons you take from sports, what do you learn that you can use throughout your life. Something I learned through sports is that you have to have the ability to bounce back. Nothing will be easy. In this world, nothing will come easy, and you better have the ability to deal with adversity, and you better have the ability to bounce back. The first example of that I'll give you is my junior year in college. I had been drafted by the Yankees out of high school. Really wanted to go pro at that time, but I knew the right thing to do would be to go to college, get an education, and then hopefully sign as a pro after my junior year in college. That was my plan for my life and my career. The draft comes around my junior year, and I was not drafted. I was not drafted, and I bawled like a baby. All my plans, everything, all my expectations had come crashing down. I didn't know what I was going to do. I hadn't made plans to go back my senior year. I assumed I would be drafted again like I was in high school, and my life got turned upside down. So at that point, I had to make the decision, what's next? Am I going to continue to wallow in self-pity, or will I work hard? Will I pick myself up? Will I bounce back from this adversity? A year later, I got drafted, and I started what was a 5-year professional career. So that's the first opportunity I had post-high school to bounce back. And I didn't get as far as Whit Merrifield, who's sitting here in front of me. He was a much better player than I was. But my dream of playing professional baseball came true because I didn't let the setback define me. I worked harder, I got more focused, and long story short, it was a blessing in disguise because I had a much better chance of getting a degree, which I did. I still got to play 5 years of professional baseball. So that was the first time I saw, okay, this whole, let's bounce back from this. And you look back years later, and it was a blessing in disguise. The next opportunity I had to bounce back from a similar type situation, my second year of college coaching. After my 5th year of being a professional player, the Cubs told me that my services were no longer needed. I wasn't going to be one of the players to help them break the curse. That's what the Chris Bryants were for. They told me that we don't need you anymore, which they do to most pro players at some point. So I immediately got into college coaching. I knew I wanted to be a mentor. I knew I wanted to stay in the game of baseball that I loved so much. And I thought coaching at the collegiate level would be the absolute perfect role for me moving forward. My second year in coaching, I was able to get a job at Purdue University. My wife was an athletic trainer at the time there. They needed a coach. It's one of those things where the stars lined up, and I was offered a coaching position post-playing career. I took the job. I thought I was on top of the world. I thought this is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the next year, the head coach there got fired. And so here I was again. What am I going to do? What's the next step? We were out on the street because when a head coach gets fired, generally the assistants go along with him. So at that point, I had to look in the mirror and decide: do I want to stay with this college baseball coaching thing, or do I want to go in a different direction? I decided to try to make this work. Maybe this was God testing me. How bad do you want it? Are you going to fight back when it gets a little tough? So I stayed in college coaching. A year later, I was offered a job at the University of Miami, and the next year after that, we won the national championship there. So that was the second example of, if you stick to it, when they knock you down, get back up, good things will happen. And then lastly, an example that I would give you of having to bounce back, because once again, the road to success is always under construction, and it never gets smooth, it never gets easy, it's always a fight. My second year of coaching at the University of South Florida, we were coming off getting that school and that program to the NCAA regionals for the first time in 13 years. So we thought we were pretty hot stuff. We thought, we're going to take this program to Omaha, we're going to make this one of the fastest rising programs in the country. Well, the next year, our entire weekend rotation got hurt. We were in a position where we had to start 7 freshmen on most nights offensively. Well, we had our first losing season, and it was, maybe we don't know it all. Maybe we need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe we need to figure out how this happened. So once again, it was an opportunity to feel sorry for ourselves, or it was an opportunity to get better, to get tougher. I always say strength comes from the struggle. And so we struggled that year, and we had to look inward. And the next year, we worked hard. We focused on the details. We did all the things that you always feel like you do, but kind of with a heightened awareness. When you go through that struggle, you just make sure you're on top of things even more than normal. The following year, after that first losing season, we won 42 games. We got to the NCAA tournament, and I was offered the head coaching job at the University of South Carolina. So 3 of the lowest points in my baseball career, not getting drafted, having a head coach get fired, and having the only losing season of my career, a year later, with every one of those instances, became one of the highlights of my career. So my message when I go out there and I talk to young kids especially is that some of your best moments will come after some of your worst moments if you take the right approach, if you're willing to fight, if you don't let it keep you down once that happens. The second thing that I like to tell kids and people when I speak is that make sure you know what you love, because that's what you need to do. Find what you love and attack it. And you have to make sure that you believe in yourself. We had a player when I was a head coach at Illinois State University. We had recruited him to be on our team, but we didn't necessarily think he would ever have a role. His choices in terms of going to college were he would come and be a walk-on with us with no baseball scholarship, or he would go to Wisconsin, not play baseball because they don't have a team, and become a doctor. We talked him into coming to play for us. He redshirted his first year. He ended up graduating in 3 years. He eventually played for us. His first year as a redshirt, he would film our hitters, much like a manager does at the University of South Carolina. We don't have to ask our players at South Carolina to film fellow teammates. We had to do that at Illinois State. His first year, he filmed hitters. Second year, he started to play a little bit. His third year, he was a starter, and he got drafted. And he's currently the starting shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals, Paul DeYoung. Paul DeYoung went to college thinking he hoped he could make a college team and he would become a doctor. He's now the starting shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals. You never know. You just never know what will happen with the mindset of, I'm going to do what I love, and I'm going to work as hard as I can at it. So baseball and sports have taught me some unbelievable lessons, and those are some of the biggest ones. As it pertains to Gamecock baseball, since we have some Gamecock fans here in the house, we're going to try to make sure that our players are learning these lessons every day. We're going to make sure that they have a culture and an environment to really thrive. In our locker room, we put up the words play hard, play smart, and be disciplined. So to me, that's preparation, that's effort, and that's discipline off the field. And we're going to continue to make sure that we get those messages across to our players every single day, because we want them to be successful with us. We want to win a national championship. We want to do and celebrate the way the Merrifields were able to do when they were Gamecocks, but we're going to do it following the right process. We're going to teach them what needs to be done. We're going to make sure they have the right mindset, and we're going to hold them accountable to that. And so far, the kids have been amazingly accepting of that message. Our season starts here in a little bit less than a month. We had practice earlier today. I can't wait to be in Founders Park, watching 8,000 people celebrate and be happy. But I'm really proud to be the head coach at South Carolina, what I think is the #1 baseball program in the country. But don't ever think for a second when you see coaches or the best players in the world that it was easy. That's my message, is when you get knocked down, get back up. Because usually those best moments come after the toughest moments, if you're willing to keep fighting. So once again, congratulations to the inductees. What a great night for you and for your families. I'm proud to be here to share it with you, and I hope to see everybody at Founders Park and hopefully in Omaha real soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. At this time, Porter Stewart will deliver our invocation.
Good evening. I was looking at the program and commenting earlier. I've been here for all of these and actually have been honored to provide the invocation each time. And I must say, in relation there too, that some of you all that have been part of this are starting to look a little old. We've been doing this for a few years. I always lead into the invocation with a few remarks, and there's a purpose to that, so just those that haven't been here before, bear with that. But particularly as we gather tonight, I wanted to ask a question of you, and you can feel free to answer out loud if you choose, but do any of you reckon that as a result of the events of the last few hours, that there's any chance at all that you're going to recognize a rebate on your taxes because of the shutdown? Do you think that? I don't think so. I would think that we perhaps might be served well if more of those that are serving us within the halls of Congress may themselves have been actively engaged in athletics, though, for the reason that there are opportunities within sport to learn some basic rules of life, and we celebrate that tonight. There are different types of sports and activities that are designed not just to give pleasure within life, but also to develop specific skills sets. And teams revolve around that, or individual opportunities. But the organizations are such that you're developed, encouraged, coached, an opportunity to learn rules, to abide by the rules, to learn sportsmanship, to see this as an opportunity to help others through teamwork, the sportsmanship piece, community service, all sorts of endeavors like that. And so it's not just necessarily an avocation in life, and not necessarily something that leads always to a vocation in life for those that have those talents, but it's something that always leads to an opportunity for a richer life and a broader experience that in fact is in service to others. So that's what I think, as I've had the opportunity to be here through the years, represents. It's an organization of some dedicated individuals within our community who recognize these values and celebrate that, and bestow honors upon individuals who distinguish themselves within our midst in their growing up years, or perhaps as adult coaches. But it's those opportunities, those skills, that service, that vantage point in life that causes us to gather here and to honor those who are to be recognized. And my prayer for them would be that they would continue within the path of life to build upon those skills, whether from years ago or more recently, depending on where you are in the path of life, and you would dedicate yourself to enrich the lives of others, playing within the rules in a productive way that makes life better for all of us. So with that, if you would join me in prayer. Father in heaven, we do thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight. We thank you for the dedication of those who have organized this such that this is continued, has been sustained, and brings us here once again. We thank you for the lives, for the experience, for the example of those who are to be honored. We ask your encouragement upon them and upon their families, and that they would, within this experience and within the reminders which tonight represents, be encouraged to go forth in service to others based upon the experiences that brought them here and brought them to this recognition. We ask also that you would now bless the food to our nourishment, us to your greater service, and it's in Christ's name that I pray. Amen.
Please continue to enjoy your dinner, but we do have a couple of recognitions and presentations to make. There are some past members of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame in attendance this evening that were inadvertently left off the recognitions earlier this evening, and we would like to recognize them at this time. So please stand when your name is called. From the class of 2006, Bobby Jordan. From the class of 2008, Dr. Sterling Adams. From the class of 2010, Larry Alexander and Derek Urquhart. From the class of 2007, representing Bull Lee is his niece, Debbie Orander. From the class of 2011, Melissa Gerald, Ricky Sells, and Mike Wilson. From the class of 2012, Curtis Hudson. From the class of 2014, Jerry Lee, Leslie McAllister, and Debbie Wall. From the class of 2013, Spider Webb. From the class of 2016, David Hanna. And from the class of 2017, Michael Hawkins and Bob Keinknecht. Please give our former inductees a hand. At this time, we have a special presentation. For the last 12 years, Chick-fil-a has been the title sponsor of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame, and they are renewing their contract with the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame. And without their sponsorship, the program and the organization as we know it could not exist at the level that it does. Representing Chick-fil-a are Blake Pate, Mark Drummond, and Sarah Black. How about a nice hand for the Chick-fil-A sponsor? Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to begin the program of inducting our new members of the class of 2018 to the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame. We're going to ask the presenter to come on stage first, and then we will introduce the inductee. Our first inductee is Summer Bigham Dudley, and the presenter is Chris Timmons, representing Chick-fil-a. Chris, if you'd come up. Our first inductee this evening is Summer Bigham Dudley. Summer is a 2003 graduate of West Florence High School and a 2007 graduate of Coker College. At West Florence, she was four-time Most Valuable Player and named Florence School District 1 Female Athlete of the Year as a senior. Following a stellar career at Coker College, she was named to the Coker College All-Time Team. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the 2018 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Summer Bigham Dudley.
Sorry, y'all, short people problems. I'd like to say thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you to my parents, because there was a lot of time spent at a softball field for me to be a pitcher. And I hope that one day I can give Savannah and Mason the same opportunity. And from the time I received the Hall of Fame packet, this has been a fun trip down memory lane. I remember this summer when I was filling out the application, sitting at the table, and I just started laughing to myself. And of course, I'm on summer break, and the twins are with me. And they walk up to me, and they're like, "Mom, what's so funny?" And I was like, "Y'all just wouldn't even understand." And they're like, "Well, you're just a weirdo Dito." I was like, "All right, I'll take that." But what I was thinking about are all the memories that softball had given me. Softball has been my life for so long. And I was sitting there, and I was thinking, I was like, I remember the time that my dad stepped out of a deer stand wrong, and he broke his ankle. And he blamed it on my pitching. I was like, that's not fair, but okay. And I was thinking about the time that 2 girls that used to live with us during the summer because they were from out of town walked up to my parents at a travel ball tournament. And they said, Mr. Jim, Miss Betty, can we go get me some new cleats? My toes are like this. And how that girl ran that fast, I will never understand with her toes being like this. And I thought about the time I was standing on a mound and I was getting ready to blow the game. And I was like, okay, if I look at my parents, I'll calm down. If I look at them, I'll calm down. And my mom was like this. And I said, well, that didn't work as planned. And it's been a long time since I've thrown a competitive softball game, other than just playing toss with the kids in the yard. But softball, like I say, has been such a part of my life that I'm privileged now to work with pitchers every single day. And softball taught me leadership and taught me confidence. And I feel that if I can share that with them, then I'm doing something. And as a teacher, I work with teenagers all day long, that if I can teach them passion, then we're good. Even if they walk out of my classroom and they won't remember Algebra 2 to save their lives, if I've taught them something to be passionate about, I've done my job. Because when they graduate, if they have something they're passionate about, their future's bright. If they don't, there's a world of trouble waiting on them, and I don't want that for any teenager. So I say thank you for the Hall of Fame, but I also say thank you for reminding me why I wake up every single morning. I needed that reminder this school year, so thank you.
Our next inductee is Barrett Keinknecht, and presenting is Blake Pate, representing Chick-fil-a. A 2006 graduate of West Florence High School, Barrett received numerous accolades and was named Florence School District 1 Male Athlete of the Year in 2006. His collegiate career began at College of Charleston, but it was at Francis Marion where he enjoyed his greatest success, being named both Team Most Valuable Player and All-American his senior year. In 2010, he was drafted by the Atlanta Braves, and following his playing career, continued his relationship with the Braves organization, serving as a coach, and in 2017, being named manager for the Gulf Coast Braves. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Barrett Keinknecht.
You know, when I received the letter telling me that I was being selected into the Hall of Fame, I started thinking about last year when I was sitting down, because my dad was inducted last year, and listening to all the stats and the resumes of all the athletes last year and this year. I think I finally figured out why I was selected. I think it was to bring the average age of the Hall of Fame down a little bit, since my dad made it so high last year. But no, it's an honor, and I'm humbled to be in the company of these athletes this year. You know, the more I think about being inducted, I start thinking about all the people that had their hand in making me not just the athlete who I was, or the athlete that I was, but the person who I am today. You know, the people that come to mind are like the teachers, coaches, family, friends. I have one of my college teammates with me here, still supporting me. But the group that comes to mind for some reason is my basketball coaches when I was a little kid. And I'll just go ahead and tell you I was awful at basketball. And the time that they spent with me, knowing I wasn't going to help the team, the time that they spent with me working on the fundamentals of the game, teaching me about the game, and to be honest, the only thing that I got pretty good at was eating the oranges the fastest after the game, quicker than anybody else. And I'm still pretty good at that. You can ask my family. But, you know, and that just, the point of that story is, you know, even though I wasn't one of the best players on the team, I was the worst player on the team, they still had faith in me to put me out there to work with me. Another story that comes to mind is I was actually in the Dominican Republic with our academy in Santo Domingo, and our facility is it's like a 3-mile drive down a dirt road, and down this dirt road they're so-called houses, but it's more 2 walls of cinder blocks with a tarp over it with another tree on the other side holding it up. And as we're going down this road, I see this little hut-looking thing with palm leaves above it. And it's in the middle of this pasture. There's chickens and goats running around. And I finally figured out, I was like, that looks like a dugout. And it was a little field where these kids were playing baseball. And it sparked a conversation up with one of our coaches in the Dominican. And he was telling me about he grew up on a field just like that. And if it wasn't because of his brother, that he wouldn't be in the situation he was today because his brother was one of the best baseball players he's ever seen. But his brother is the one that taught him about life, taught him about baseball. And I think the point of that story that I gathered from it is without someone in front of us, we wouldn't be where we are today. And for that, I'd like to thank my family, my friends. I got my in-laws here as well. And that's a funny story for another day. They were actually my next door neighbors growing up, so I got a lot of ground balls and fly balls and BP before we even really knew each other. But the coaches that I've had, the teachers that I've had, just people that I've run into along the way that have guided me, shared what they knew to make me a better person, a better baseball player. And, I give all the glory to God. Without him, his hand on me, I don't know where I'd be today. And one of my buddies that's in the hunting industry shared a story with me, and he said, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans for your life. Because I never wanted to be a coach after I got done playing. I was ready to be done with baseball. To be honest, I enjoyed playing it, but I didn't really enjoy watching it or talking it. But God showed me through the gift that He's given me that it's not about what I want, it's about what He's going to do through me. And Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord in all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, trust in Him in all you do, and He'll guide you on the right path. And I truly believe that because of all the people that had their hand in teaching me along the way is where I'm at today. And I'd also like to thank the board members and for putting this on. And I'd also like to thank the cooks and the people serving, because the food was absolutely delicious. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Christine Kissy Hite Merrifield. Our presenter is Sarah Black from Chick-fil-a. Kissy is a 1981 graduate of West Florence High School, where she was team most valuable player in tennis her junior and senior year, and state champion in #1 singles and #1 doubles. Following her high school career, Kissy attended Wake Forest University, where she was team most valuable player as a sophomore and junior. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Christine Kissy Hite Merrifield.
Thank you very, very much. First of all, I want to thank the Board of Directors for electing me into this Hall of Fame. I want to thank the other inductees on your congratulations on your accomplishments. This is like a family reunion for me. All of my family is here, all of my brothers and sisters, which is a huge feat because I'm the baby of 6. So when we can all get together, it's very special, and I just really want to thank them for being here with me. They don't realize it, but they were a huge role models for me, both growing up and athletically. Being the baby of 6, I spent a lot of time with my mom and dad, traveling to watch all of them play various sports, from Friday night football games at McClinigan High School in West Florence to junior golf tournaments with my sisters. And then as I got a little older, my oldest sister, Kathy, took it to the next level and was a professional golfer, and that was so exciting for me to watch her play. So they were huge. They played a huge role in my desire to be an athlete, and I really appreciate that and thank them for being here today. One of my best friends in the whole wide world is here, Angie Woodbury. We spent countless hours on and off the court together, the tennis courts. She had a wicked backhand, and she taught me at an early age to use strategy when playing. I learned to keep it away from that backhand if I wanted to win, because even though I loved her off the court, I did not want to lose to her on the court. So I'm very happy she's here with me. We played at West Florence together, and we're doubles partners, and we won a couple of state titles together. So I'm so glad she is here. My family is here. Bill, my husband, I would not have met him if it wasn't for tennis, so I'm very thankful for that. We met at Wake Forest. My 3 children, Whit, Costner, and Hite, and my future daughter-in-law, Jordan, are all here. As a mom, as your children get older, this is priceless when they can all be together with me and Bill. So I'm just so thankful that they are here to share this with me tonight. None of them are tennis players, and that's okay. I tried. They humored me and went to the tennis courts with me, and they hit, and they all had great potential, but none of them had that love for it that I did. They found their own path. They ended up with 2 baseball players and a volleyball player, and they all did great. I'm hoping maybe one day a grandchild will be a tennis player, maybe. So we will see. But the 2 people I need to thank the most, unfortunately, are not with us anymore, and that's my mom and dad. My dad was born and raised in Florence. He would just have been thrilled with this night. And my mom loved tennis more than anybody I think I know, so she would just have been over the moon to be here with us. But my mom is who put the tennis racket in my hand when I was probably 5. She played a huge part in the tennis movement in Florence. And I used to go to the tennis courts with her, watch her play, and then she'd hit balls with me. And as I got better, those competitive juices started flowing, and I really, really started liking it. And the more I won, the more I wanted to play, and the more I wanted to get better. We started with city tournaments here in Florence, and then we started traveling a little farther, Charleston and Columbia. And as I got better, we went more in the South and even nationally. So it was so much fun sharing that time with her. When I was 9, she was asked to be the tennis coach at Francis Marion, which was really exciting. I got to go to practices with her, even go to some of their matches, even hit with some of the girls, which was really cool. And that opened my eyes to the next level of play, the collegiate athlete, and then and there I knew that that's what I wanted to do. When I grew up, I wanted to be good enough to play in college, and I set that goal for myself, and I didn't stop until I achieved it. Florence was a great, great city to grow up in. We had wonderful facilities. We had great instructors. We had an up-and-coming junior tennis program that I was lucky to be a part of. A lot of good players, both younger and older than me, that helped me along the way, helped me get better each and every day. I have so many fond memories of playing tennis in Florence, and I met so many wonderful people that I'll never forget it. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Florence will always be home to me, and I thank you again for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Jeffery Dowdy Scott, and presenting for Coach Scott is Audrey Timmons, mother of Lawrence Timmons, Hall of Fame sponsor. Accepting on behalf of Coach Scott will be his son, DeAndre Scott. Jeffrey Scott was a 1963 graduate of Weber High School of Eastover, South Carolina, and a 1967 graduate of South Carolina State College. Coach Scott coached at Ridgeland, Buford, Jasper, and Chesterfield High Schools before becoming the head basketball coach at Wilson High School from 1972 to 1985. At Wilson, Coach Scott led the Tigers to numerous city and conference championships and advanced to the lower state finals twice. As an educator and coach, Coach Jeffrey Scott retired in 2011 after 43 years of service in public education. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Jeffrey Dowdy Scott.
Thank you. What a fantastic night. What a wonderful event. Time we can come together and celebrate the very best of Florence. An opportunity to celebrate athletics and how influential and life-changing athletics have been for not only the inductees, but I'm pretty sure most people in this room. It's impossible for me to put into words how humbled I am to be given the opportunity to represent my family, to represent my father on this special night. I know everyone in here is sports-minded and probably follows popular sports nowadays, and maybe you guys have heard of LeVar Ball and his BBB, Big Baller brand. I actually think my dad may have coined that BBB phrase first. Whenever I was trying to explain my way out of trouble, he would cut me off and say, boy, be brief, BBB. So I'm gonna attempt and follow his advice tonight. Obviously, no person is able to reach these type of milestones on their own. That statement probably carries a little more weight for coaches. Any coach in this room tonight can attest that although you may have a dream or a vision of how you think things are supposed to go, it takes so many people to bring that dream to fruition. I feel like my father was speaking with, if he was speaking with you tonight, the first group of people that he would want to thank would be his players. From my vantage point, I can say without a doubt that my father was definitely a player's coach. He loved his players. I think more than the idea of basketball or football or any other sports he coached, he really enjoyed the idea of working with and molding young men to help prepare them for the future. As early as I can remember, he would tell us all these stories about his former players. Ricky would be shooting from 30 feet with 3 people on him, and Gerald would come down the lane and he might dunk on 5 people if you let him tell it. So to me, all those guys were superheroes. But I still believe what gave him more joy than talking about the exploits on the floor of those players, he got more joy out of what those guys did once they hung up the sneakers. John had his own congregation. Harry had a set of twins. Al was now a principal. He loved to see the positive contributions that those guys were making, not only to the Florence community, but in many cases really around the world. I know he'd want to thank his former co-workers, administrators, teachers, assistant coaches, staff, custodians. It takes so many people working together to educate our children. As a man who spent 40 years in education, he knew the life of service was a life that you could be proud of. I know he'd want to thank everyone who used their talents and in this time to make someone else's life better. Finally, I think my father want to thank his family. As the family of the coach, as the family of a coach, you kind of entered into an unspoken agreement. Your dad is yours to share. So many life lessons I was taught by my father, I would hear those things repeated back to me whenever I would meet his former players. Players will pop in to check on our family during holidays. They were our family. My mother was their mother. My mother, no one sacrificed more for my dad to help achieve his goals and dreams. She was the backbone of our family and the scaffolding for all of his successes. Tonight is the culmination of her sacrifices and the realization of his dreams. It's a recognition of a life of service. From the family of Jeffery Scott, we'd like to thank Williams Middle School, Wilson High School, the City of Florence, the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame and its board of directors. Thank you again for this tremendous honor.
Our next inductee is Nathaniel Skebo Oswald Turner Jr. and Teresa Myers Urban, representing the Florence City Council, will be the presenter. A 1969 graduate of Southside High School, Skebo was a 4-sport letterman in football, basketball, baseball, and track. In 1969, he represented Southside in the Shrine Bowl. A key member of the Southside State champion baseball teams in 1967, 68, and 69, Skebo was drafted in the second round of the 1970 Major League Draft by the Baltimore Orioles. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Nathaniel Skebo Oswald Turner Jr.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here tonight. I didn't think anything like this would ever happen, but somehow or another it did. I've got friends in high places, I guess. I've been playing sports all my life till I got disabled and wasn't able to. I'd like to thank Lord Jesus Christ for giving me the tools to work with as a young child and coming up, and my mom and dad always made sure I had a way to get to practice or to the games, regardless of what they were doing. They both worked. And I had so many friends that helped me. I learned a long time ago that baseball, football, basketball are team sports. And without the other players on the team, you don't get there, you lose. One person can't do it. It takes a team effort for everybody to work together. And that's what it took for me, because I wasn't near as good as I was when I had these guys playing with me, making me look better. And it really helped. I'd like to special thanks to Jerry Lee. He watched me grow up. He was one of the neighbors where I lived, and coached me in church and coached me on the ball field, and he just kept me in the straight and narrow most of the time. But he was a good one to do it. He didn't mind, and that's the way he lives his life still today. I had another one that I followed in his footsteps that really enjoyed doing. That was Bobby Jordan. Bobby was a stellar athlete. He was just so good at everything, and I wanted to be like Bobby a lot of times, but didn't make it quite that good. I was okay, but he and I were the paddleball champions at Southside High School when I was just a youngster, and that was where it started, learning about how to work with people and how to do things that you didn't know how to do. Without the coaching, I had the tools, but I didn't know how to use them, and I had wonderful coaches that taught me what to do and when to do it and where to do it and what not to do, and not to run the straight and narrow, because I had coaches that send you home. I had one, if you were here last year, Gerald Holly told that story. Clyde Rim was my baseball coach, and one day I showed up at practice and I was growing a little goatee. Clyde said, for a game. Clyde said, "You go play today?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm ready." He said, "Not quite." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "Go across the road over there and get Willa to give you a razor. You got to shave if you go play today." Of course, I tried to cross the road and went in, and Willa gave me a razor, and I shaved, and I come back. He said, "Okay, go to third base." And that's just how it was. If you got good coaching and good teachers, you can be a success. I'd like to tell all these youngsters out here that want to have major league careers and all, go to school. I signed out of high school. I should have played college ball. That was the biggest mistake in my life. And when you graduate from college or your junior year, if you're good enough, you'll still go play pro ball. And if you're not, then you wouldn't have made it anyway, but you'd still have your college behind you. So it's like that. I've got a grandson over here that's fixing to venture off into playing baseball for college next year, and hopefully he'll do well. He's going to be a Citadel cadet first, I think, and then a baseball player second. So we'll find out. I'm sure they'll keep him on the straight and narrow. I'd like to thank everybody that had anything to do with this award, and appreciate it very much.
Our final inductee this evening is Ronald Edwin Turner Jr., and our presenter is Brad Hitchings, who's representing the Havocost family sponsorship. Ron is a 1983 graduate of South Florence High School, where he was a member of the swim team from 1980 through 1982. Following high school, Ron was a member of the Indian River Community College National Championship swim team in 1987-88. Following competition, Ron entered coaching and has served as a coach on both the collegiate and international levels, including as an assistant coach for the 2007 United States Pan Am Games. During his career, Ron coached numerous athletes at the international level, including Olympic gold and bronze medal winners. Ladies and gentlemen, 2018 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Ronald Ron Edwin Turner, Jr.
Being a coach, I'm definitely not going to let you down, so I'll have the coach voice going on tonight. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee very much, as well as Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is not aware of this, but you've actually, I've lived in a Chick-fil-A for the last 30 years after a morning workout, eating your biscuits, and they were very delicious. So I appreciate all that support for my coaching career. I'm very humbled and honored to be a part of a fraternity of outstanding men and women that have done a great job in the athletics field of putting the great little city of Florence on the map. I think that's a testament not to just the athletes and the coaches, but the teachers and the support that we've all had through the years. A lot of you probably are not even aware that Florence has a swim team or had a swim team, because Florence, being in the South, is obviously such a ball and bat or racket or laden sport area. But we have had a swim team for over 40 years, and we've actually had some pretty decent athletes come through it. Swimming, for those of you that don't know, I'll give you a little education. It is the #1 watched Olympic sport in the Summer Olympics, and if it wasn't for somebody named Michael Phelps, I don't think swimming would have been where it is today. So I'm very grateful to be a part of that, so people actually know what swimming's about. They say behind a good coach is a great support staff, and I'm a true believer in that. And my support staff, I'd like to take just a few minutes to recognize and give them credit. First off, I'd like to recognize my mother, Mamie McKeever, and her husband, Paul, my father, Ronald Edwin Turner Sr., and his wife, Hazel. And I appreciate all the sacrifices that you guys have put all your life, because being a coach, you never get to get home for Thanksgiving, and you get the one day home for Christmas because you're doing all the work and everything. So I appreciate you guys putting up with that sacrifice of not having your son home for so long. I'd like to take a minute and thank my teammate and former teammate, Rick Havacost, who, as a swimmer growing up myself, it was great to find someone that was just as competitive as I was. And the great thing about Rick was he was just as competitive and pushed me, but at the same time said, don't take ourselves too seriously. It's just swimming, So he made it fun and really made me appreciate the sport even more. I would also lastly like to recognize my former coach and my very first coach, Brad Hitchings, my presenter, and his wife, Thede, who actually got me into coaching. And I went through a few challenging years as a high school student, and Brad was there for me, and I've always been grateful for that. He's been a mentor to me, and he doesn't know this now standing here, but he was the orchestrator of the blueprint that actually got me into coaching and taught me hard work. Believe me, we worked hard under Brad, so I'm very grateful for that. But again, I'm very honored and humbled to be here tonight, and I appreciate the award. Thank you.
Our closing remarks will be offered by 2017 Board President Melissa Gerald.
Congratulations to all of our deserving Hall of Fame inductees. This honor is well overdue, and I think you will all be outstanding leaders for our future inductees to follow. As I call your name, please stand for a final round of applause, and after I've called everyone's name, if you would please move over to our photography area, we want to get a group photo. Summer Bigham Dudley. Barrett Christian Keinknecht. Christine Kissy Hite Merrifield. Jeffery Dowdy Scott. Nathaniel Skebo Turner. And Ronald Ron Turner. We welcome you to the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame. And if y'all move to the cameras, over to the camera, please. Didn't know it was so hard to get y'all in front of the camera here. As they're taking a group photograph, I'd like to thank some very special people that were also a part of tonight's ceremony. Thank you to our MC, Bob Wilson, for another great year. Our guest speaker, Mark Kingston, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight. A special thanks to all of our presenters, to Porter Stewart for our invocation, Dave Taylor for the video and filming of the induction ceremony, Chris Lefevre and Hope Veer for event photos, who have been in charge of the photography for this evening. A big thanks to the Red Wolves Baseball Organization for their support and donation of the 2 season tickets for our drawing. I'd also like to invite you to visit the Hall of Fame, which is located on the 2nd floor concourse here at the Florence Center. The plaques and sports memorabilia are displayed all for Florence Center patrons and area visitors to see and enjoy. We also have a website, www.florenceathletichalloffame.com, that you can visit to view each class of inductees, beginning with the first class of 2006. The board is also in need of your support for future selections to the Hall of Fame. On your tables are 2 very important forms. One is a 2019 nomination form, and the other is a breakdown of sponsorship opportunities for those wishing to contribute to the future success of the Hall. Additional copies will be at the exit doors as you leave. Please take as many as you like and distribute them to family members or sports enthusiasts who would like to sponsor or nominate a deserving athlete, coach, or supporter that has contributed significantly to sports in Florence. Next year's nomination and sponsorship deadline is July 31st, 2018. We are already excited about the potential of next year's class, as several nomination forms are being held for consideration. Next year's banquet is scheduled for January 19th, 2019. Thank you all for coming. Drive safe, and see you next year.